Dear Heavenly Father,
Lieber himmlischer Vater,
Lord, we are truly blessed that you kept us through the night.
Herr, wir sind wahrlich gesegnet, dass du uns in der Nacht bewahrt hast.
And we thank you that you have woken us this morning,
Wir danken dir, dass du uns heute Morgen geweckt hast,
that we can come before you and worship.
dass wir vor dir in Anbetung erscheinen können.
And I pray, Lord, that you would open our hearts and minds,
Und ich bitte, Herr, dass du unser Herz und unseren Verstand öffnest,
that we would be open for the reception of your truth.
dass wir offen sind für das Empfängnis deiner Wahrheit.
For Lord, we know it's the only thing that can save us,
Denn wir wissen, Herr, das ist das Einzige, was uns retten kann,
to transform these wicked hearts of ours,
sodass unsere bösen Herzen verändert werden können
that might bring us to humble obedience before you.
und wir zum demütigen Gehorsam vor dir gebracht werden.
So help us now, Lord, to eat that which is good,
Deswegen bitte hilf, Herr, dass wir jetzt das essen, was gut ist.
and may you come and bless your people.
Und mögest du jetzt kommen und dein Volk segnen.
And we ask this in the name of Jesus.
Und wir bitten dies in Jesu Namen. Amen.
Okay, let's. Have we got the notes?
Haben wir alle die Notizen?
Okay, let's begin in Isaiah chapter 6.
Lasst uns in Jesaja 6 beginnen, Vers 1 bis 3.
Okay. Scott, you want to read this verse, please?
The year that King Uzziah died, I saw also the Lord sitting upon a throne high and lifted up, and his train filled the temple. Above it stood the seraphims, each one had 6 wings, with twain he covered his face, and with twain he covered his feet, and with twain he did fly. And one cried unto another and said, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts, the whole earth is full of his glory.
Okay, so we understand that it's Isaiah's right here at the gate when the investigative judgment begins and the door opens.
Wir verstehen, dass Jesaja jetzt genau hier steht, wo das Untersuchungsgericht an den Lebendigen beginnt und die Tür wird geöffnet für ihn.
Right, and he has this experience here, holy, holy, holy.
Und er hat dann diese Erfahrung hier, heilig, heilig, heilig.
Which is, it says the whole earth is lightened with his glory. Right?
Und das sagt er dann, die ganze Erde ist erleuchtet mit seiner Herrlichkeit.
Okay, and we know that when the Lord is high and lifted up, it's marking the cross.
Und wir wissen, dass wenn der Herr erhaben und erhöht ist, das markiert das Kreuz.
Okay, it's where marking the point where God's people get delivered up for the truth.
Es markiert den Punkt, wo Gottes Volk um der Wahrheit willen ausgeliefert wird.
Okay, and the last few days we've been going through this foot washing in this little time of peace.
Und die letzten paar Tage sind wir dann hier durch diese Fußwaschung oder haben die Fußwaschung thematisiert in dieser kleinen Zeit des Friedens.
Okay, and after the foot washing they had to eat the Passover.
Und nach der Fußwaschung sollten sie dann das Passa essen.
And when they ate, they also drank, right?
Und als sie aßen, haben sie auch getrunken.
So you had to eat and drink. It was this Passover feast that they were having.
Also sie mussten essen und trinken, das war dieses Passafest oder Communion Service.
Yes, so
Oder das Abendmahl.
what we understand is that this revelation here, right, is the exceeding bright light that's marked in early writings 54.
Und was wir verstehen ist, dass diese Offenbarung hier, dieses überaus helle Licht ist, was in frühe Schriften 54 beschrieben wird.
Okay, now let's go to Great Controversy 6:11.
Lass uns jetzt zum großen Kampf, Seite 611 gehen.
We read a portion of this the other day.
Wir haben jetzt vor kurzem einen Teil davon gelesen gehabt.
It says, the angel who unites in the proclamation of the third angel's message is to lighten the earth with his glory. Right, is to is a future event, right?
Also, dass er das tun würde und tun wird, ist ein zukünftiges Ereignis.
Right?
Richtig?
Did we get an acknowledgement, or is everybody still asleep? Okay, so he is to, right? And it tells us when that happens, what it represents, right?
Und er sagt uns auch, was das dann darstellt, wenn es passiert.
So, the exceeding bright light, the whole earth is filled with the glory of God. It's marking this point right here.
Das überaus helle Licht markiert an dem Punkt, wo die ganze Erde erfüllt wird mit der Herrlichkeit Gottes.
Okay, it says, a work of worldwide extent and unwanted power is here foretold. The Advent movement of 1840 to 1844 was a glorious manifestation of the power of God. The first angel's message was carried to every missionary station in the world, and in some countries there was the greatest religious interest, which has been witnessed in any land since the Reformation of the 16th century. But these are to be exceeded by the mighty movement under the last warning of the third angel. Now, we know right here, from 1798 to 1844, this period of 46 years,
Wir wissen, dass hier von 1798 bis 1844 es diese Zeit von 46 Jahren war.
right, which is this seven thunders,
Was auch die 7 Donner sind.
and we know that this mighty angel that prefigured, the angel that prefigured this mighty angel,
Und wir verstehen, dass der Engel, der diesen mächtigen Engel hier am Ende der Welt vorausgeschattet hat,
arrived right here in 1798.
kam hier 1798 an.
And it was the history of the first and second angel's
Und es
message.
war die Geschichte des ersten und zweiten Engels.
And we know that the first and second angel's messages are perfectly fulfilled under the third.
Und wir wissen, dass die Geschichte des ersten und zweiten Engels sich perfekt unter der dritten erfüllen werden.
So, what she's doing is she talks about the third angel's message, where the whole earth is going to be filled with the glory of God.
Und was sie hier tut, sie spricht über die dritte Engelsbotschaft, wo die ganze Erde mit der Herrlichkeit Gottes erleuchtet werden wird.
And she takes us back to Millerite history.
Und sie bringt uns dann zurück zur Miller-Geschichte.
Because this angel, right here, when it came, it was the message that gave them the seven thunders to eat.
Denn dieser Engel, als er kam, war der Engel, der ihnen die 7 Donner zum Essen gegeben hatte.
Right, and it was this history, the seven thunders, right?
Das war diese Geschichte der 7 Donner.
She parallels that to the third angel's message, where the first and second repeat perfectly.
Und sie setzt das parallel zur dritten Engelsbotschaft, wo die erste und zweite Engelsbotschaft sich perfekt wiederholen werden.
So we know that this history right here fits right into here, right?
Wir verstehen ja dann, dass diese Geschichte der 7 Donner auch in diese kleine Box hier passt.
Right? And this fractal here is this one here, and this one is this one here, right? Just blown up for us.
Also dieses Fraktal von Mitternachtsruf bis zur finalen Untersuchung ist dann hier dargestellt und vom Mitternachtsruf bis zur 9. Stunde ist hier unten dargestellt.
Okay, so you've got the seven thunders there marking this history down here. Right?
Also die 7 Donner hier parallel dann hier zu diesem Fraktal.
It says, the Advent movement of 1840 to 1844 was a glorious manifestation of the power of God. The first angel's message was carried to every missionary station in the world. And in some countries there was the greatest religious interest, which had been witnessed in any land since the Reformation of the 16th century. But these are to be exceeded by the mighty movement under the last warning of the third angel. So it's telling us right here that everything that was prefigured in the past is pointing down to this time, the midnight cry.
Also sagt uns hier, dass all das, was vorausgeschattet worden ist durch die Vergangenheit, weist dann hier runter auf diese Zeit, also auf unseren Test hier.
It says the work will be similar to that of the day of Pentecost, right? And we know that when Elisha, right, when they cross the waters right there, there's these 50 men come and they're watching to see what's going to happen, right?
Also das Werk wird ähnlich sein wie Pfingsten und das ist ja auch mit Elia und Elisa, als sie die Wasser überquerten, da waren ja diese 50 Leute, die zugeschaut haben.
Okay. It says, as the former rain was given in the outpouring of the Holy Spirit at the opening of the gospel, to cause the upspringing of the precious seed, so the latter rain will be given at its close for the ripening of the harvest. Okay, so we know in our line here that this is the time period of the former.
Wir wissen, dass hier in dieser Linie das die Zeit des Frühregens ist.
Right? The former rain is all the types.
Der Frühregen besteht ja aus all diesen Typen.
And it says that the prophecies that fulfilled in the former are going to repeat in the latter.
Man
Right?
sagt ja, dass die Weissagungen, die sich in dem Frühregen erfüllt haben, sich auch im Spätregen erfüllen werden.
And when we take these two fractals, this one and this one, we see that everything that begins here is repeated right here, right?
Wenn wir diese 2 Fraktale nehmen, einmal vom Sonntagsgesetz bis zur finalen Untersuchung und dann vom Mitternachtsruf bis zur finalen Untersuchung, kann man sehen, dass letztendlich alles, was im Sonntagsgesetz stattfindet, auch am Mitternachtsruf stattfindet.
Right? All these prophecies repeat perfectly, right?
Die Weissagungen wiederholen sich perfekt.
Okay, so we see that the latter rain that's coming here is for the ripening of the harvest.
Der Spätring, der hier kommt, dient dazu, die Ernte zu reifen.
Right? We understand that this is where you get ripened in the fires of affliction.
Wir verstehen, das ist dort, wo du gereift wirst in diesen Feuern der Anfechtung.
Then shall we know if we follow on to know the Lord is going forth as prepared as the morning. He shall come unto us as the rain, as the latter and former rain unto the earth. Be glad then, ye children of Zion, and rejoice in the Lord your God, for he hath given you the former rain moderately, and he will cause to come down for you the rain, the former and the latter. In the last days, saith God, I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and it shall come to pass that whosoever shall call on the name of the Lord shall be saved. And that expression there, we know is marking the midnight cry time period.
Und wir wissen, dass dieser Ausdruck hier den Mitternachtsrufzeit beschreibt.
There's the same expression in many places in the Bible. Those that call upon me, I will save them. Right?
Es gibt oftmals diesen Ausdruck, dass diejenigen, die mich anrufen, die werde ich auch retten.
It says, the great work of the gospel is not to close with less manifestation of the power of God than marked its opening. Right? So, in talking about history, but that history is marking here. This is the opening, right?
Also das hier ist die Eröffnung des Evangeliums.
And right here he sends the angel of Revelation 18, right?
Genau hier sendet er auch den Engel aus Offenbarung 18.
But this is now the last warning message. It's the close of the gospel.
Aber das ist jetzt hier die letzte Warnungsbotschaft, das ist das Ende des Evangeliums.
Okay. The last closing message, right?
Die letzte Botschaft, die jetzt letztendlich das Evangelium abschließt.
The prophecies which were fulfilled in the outpouring of the former rain at the opening of the gospel are again to be fulfilled in the latter rain at its close. Here are the times of refreshing, to which the apostle Peter looked forward when he said, Repent ye therefore, and be converted, that your sins may be blotted out, when the times of refreshing shall come from the presence of the Lord, and he shall send Jesus. Right here, the investigated judgment of the living, and this way your sins get blotted out if you're faithful.
Also hier findet das Untersuchungsgericht an den Lebenden statt. Dort werden deine Sünden ausgetilgt, wenn du treu bist.
So, if you don't read Revelation 10, 1 to 3, please.
Jetzt lesen wir Offenbarung 10, Verse 1 bis 3.
I saw another mighty angel come down from heaven, clothed with a cloud, and a rainbow upon his head. And his face was as it were the sun, and his feet as pillars of fire. And he had in his hand a little book open, and he set his right foot upon the sea, and his left foot on the earth, and cried with a loud voice, as when a lion roareth, and when he had cried 7 thunders uttered their voices.
So, we know, right, that here this is this angel that's been marked coming down. The whole earth is lightened with his glory, right?
Also wir verstehen, dass hier dieser Engel markiert ist, der jetzt hier runterkommt aus Offenbarung 10 und die ganze Erde wird erleuchtet mit der Herrlichkeit.
Okay, this angel has a rainbow around his head. This is the vision of Ezekiel chapter 1, verse 28.
Der Engel hat diesen Regenbogen über sein Haupt, das ist die Vision aus Hesekiel 1, 28.
Okay, it's the same vision, and it's marking this point, right, where Ezekiel, and also the vision here, when the angel comes, what does he say to Ezekiel, and what does John, or what does the angel say to John?
Also das markiert denselben Punkt. Was sagt dann Gott zu Hesekiel und was sagt der Engel hier zu Johannes? Eat.
To eat, right?
Zu essen.
Okay, and we know that the Passover, that you had to eat the flesh and blood of Christ, is marking the cross, right?
Wir wissen, dass hier beim Passa du das Fleisch essen solltest und sein Blut trinken solltest.
So when the angel comes down in the exceeding bright light, you have to eat the message, and the message is 7 thunders, right?
Deswegen, wenn der Engel herabkommt mit diesem überaus hellen Licht, dann ist es eine Botschaft, die du essen musst, und diese Botschaft ist die Botschaft über die 7 Donner.
Okay, so, and we know that it's marking this 4 and 6, or 46, right?
Und wir wissen, das markiert diese Zahl 46.
And this 46 is the 2 tables of stone.
Und diese Zahl 46 sind die 2 Steintafeln.
Right, and the 2 tables of stone were written on the back and the front, right?
Und die beiden Steintafeln sind vorne und hinten beschrieben gewesen.
And the flying roll was, how was it written?
Und die fliegende Rolle, wie war sie beschrieben?
On the back and on the front, right?
Auch vorne und hinten.
So we can see the relationship of these 2 witnesses and the flying roll, right?
Deswegen, wir sehen die Beziehung zwischen den 2 Zeugen und der fliegenden Buchrolle.
Okay, because David, you want to read Zechariah 4, 1 to 3, please?
Jetzt lesen wir Sacharja Kapitel 4, Verse 1 bis 3.
And the angel that talked with me came again and waked, as a man that is wakened out of his sleep, and said unto me, What seest thou? And I see, and I said, I have looked, and behold a candlestick all of gold, with a bowl upon the top of it, and the 7 lamps thereon, and 7 pipes to the 7 lamps, which are upon the top thereof, and 2 olive trees by it, one upon the right side of the bowl, and the other upon the left side thereof.
Okay, so yesterday we looked at these 2 witnesses, right?
Gestern haben wir uns diese 2 Zeugen angeschaut.
And when you go to the next chapter, you have this illustration of the flying roll, right?
Und wenn du zum nächsten Kapitel kommst, da hast du die fliegende Buchrolle erwähnt.
And it's paralleled to the counterfeit, which is these 2 storks lifting up this false message, right, or this woman.
Das ist dann, danach kommt dann noch diese Fälschung, die erwähnt wird, wo du diese 2 Frauen hast, die mit Storchenflügeln dort diese falsche Botschaft, diese Frau hochheben.
So you know that this illustration here of these 2 witnesses with the candlestick is the flying roll, right? It's just showing you it in a different way, right?
Deswegen diese Darstellung hier mit den 2 Gesalten hier und diesem Leuchter in der Mitte ist einfach eine Darstellung der fliegenden Buchrolle. Es ist einfach nur eine andere Illustration davon.
So, and she likens the flying roll to the roll in Ezekiel chapter 3 or 2 and 3, which Ezekiel has to eat. Right?
Und Ellen White vergleicht ja dann die fliegende Buchrolle aus Sacharja 5 mit Hesekiel Kapitel 2, die Hesekiel essen soll.
Right?
Richtig?
Okay. Now, just Philip, read Revelation chapter 11,
Gehen wir zu Offenbarung Kapitel 11,
3 and 4, please.
Verse 3 bis 4.
And I will give power to my 2 witnesses, and they shall prophesy 1,260 days, clothed and separate. These are the 2 olive trees and the 2 candlesticks standing before the God of the earth.
Okay, so the 2 witnesses, right, are these 2 olive trees. It's the same 2 witnesses in Revelation 11 as you see in Zechariah chapter 4.
Diese 2 Zeugen sind hier diese beiden Ölbäume, das ist dasselbe wie in Sacharja 4, diese 2 Gesalten.
And just go to the next quote from Great Controversy 267.
Gehen wir zum nächsten Zitat hier aus dem Großen Kampf 267, Punkt 1.
It says, concerning the 2 witnesses, the prophet declares further, these are the 2 olive trees and the 2 candlesticks standing before the God of the earth. Thy word, said the psalmist, is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. The 2 witnesses represent the scriptures of the Old and the New Testament. Right? So, the Old and the New Testament is the Bible, right?
Also die 2 Zeugen stellen das Alte und Neue Testament dar und das wiederum stellt ja die Bibel dar.
So, now, when the 46, right, when you take it, it's on these 2 tables of stone.
Und wenn man jetzt die 46 nimmt, dargestellt auf den 2 Steintafeln.
And Sister White, she said that these 2, she saw these 2 tables bound together like a book, right?
Und sie sah ja diese beiden Tafeln zusammengebunden wie ein Buch.
And it's this book that you're to eat, right?
Und es ist dieses Buch, was du hier essen sollst.
So all the same thing, the 2 witnesses, the flying roll, the law, the Bible, they're all marking this same symbol, this great light that you have to eat.
Deswegen ist es alles dasselbe, diese 2 Zeugen, die fliegende Rolle, das Gesetz, das ist alles markiert dasselbe, das ist markiert diese Bibel, die du essen sollst.
Okay, so Now we're going to go. Now we're going to go to Miller's dream.
Jetzt kommen wir zu Millers Traum.
I want to show that Miller's dream is fulfilled right in here in this time period.
Und ich möchte jetzt aufzeigen, wie Millers Traum hier in dieser Zeit vom Mitternachtsruf bis zur 9. Stunde sich erfüllt.
And it was prefigured by this history from 1798 to 1844, marking the seventh thunder.
Und das ist vorausgeschattet worden von der Geschichte von 1798 bis 1844, was auch die 7 Donner sind.
It begins, it says, I dreamed that God by an unseen hand sent me a curiously wrought casket about 10 inches long by 6 square, made of ebony and pearls curiously inlaid. To the casket there was a key attached. I immediately took the key and opened the casket, when to my wonder and surprise I found it filled with all sorts and sizes of jewels, diamonds, precious stones, gold and silver coin of every dimension and value, beautifully arranged in their several places in the casket, and thus arranged, they reflected a light and glory equaled only to the sun. Right? So the angel of Revelation 10, how is it likened unto?
Der Engel aus Offenbarung 10, womit wird er verglichen? Das ist Sun.
Shine brightness as the sun, right?
Also er leuchtet wie die Sonne.
And the woman that has the wedding garment on in Revelation 12, that's marking God's people right here, how does she likened unto?
Und die Frau, die in Offenbarung 12 das Hochzeitsgewand anhat, womit wird sie verglichen?
Yes, she's as bright as the sun, right?
Sie ist auch mit der Sonne bekleidet.
So, what is it that Miller's opening here?
Also was ist es, was Miller jetzt hier auftut?
Well, that's what it says. If I'm asking, what is this a representation?
Also wofür steht dieses Kästchen hier, was er auftut?
The Bible, right?
Für die
The
Bibel.
Old and the New Testaments,
Das
right?
Alte und das Neue Testament.
Right? And we just understanding that what the Old New Testament is the two witnesses, right?
Und wir verstehen, das Alte und das Neue Testament sind ja die 2 Zeugen.
It's the glorious message that when Zechariah, in the book of Zechariah, when he wakes up, which is right here, he sees this glory shining, right?
Also es ist ja diese herrliche Botschaft, die auch Sacharja gezeigt bekommen hat, als er nämlich aufwacht, dort am Mitternachtsruf, dann sieht er diese herrliche Botschaft, diese 2 Zeugen.
Which is the flying roll.
Und das ist ja auch die fliegende Rolle.
And the flying roll is also likened unto a little book,
Und die fliegende Buchrolle ist ja auch verglichen mit dem kleinen Buch.
right?
Richtig.
And it's this book right here that William Miller is opening,
Und das ist dasselbe Buch, was hier Miller jetzt auftut.
right? And Miller is a type of Elijah, right?
Und Miller ist ja ein Typus für Elia.
And Elijah was John.
Und Elia war Johannes.
And here you have the time of the end, right?
Und hier haben wir die Zeit des Endes.
Marking the point where John begins to preach,
Und das markiert dann hier den Punkt, wo Johannes anfängt zu verkündigen,
which is Elijah,
was auch Elia ist.
and the message gets confirmed, right?
Und dann wird am Ende die Botschaft bestätigt.
So right here, when Miller is opening this little book, right, it's marking this glorious light that's unfolded, right?
Und sobald Miller jetzt hier dieses Buch aufschließt, dann markiert das, wie dieses herrliche Licht sich entfaltet.
Okay, now it's Miller. It says that Miller dreamed that God by an unseen hand,
Und da
right?
steht ja, Miller hat dann geträumt, dass Gott durch eine unsichtbare Hand,
Daniel, you want to read Daniel 5, 1-6, please?
und über diese unsichtbare Hand finden wir etwas in Daniel 5, Verse 1 bis 6. Daniel 5, 1 bis 6.
Belshazzar, the king, made a great feast to 1,000 of his lords, and drank wine before the 1,000. Belshazzar, while he tasted the wine, commanded to bring the golden and silver vessels which his father Nebuchadnezzar had taken out of the temple which was in Jerusalem, that the king and his princes, his wives, and his concubines might drink therein. Then they brought the golden vessels that were taken out of the temple of the house of God, which was at Jerusalem, and the king and his princes, his wives, and his concubines drank in them. They drank wine and praised the gods of gold and of silver, brass, of iron, of wood, and of stone. the same hour came forth fingers of a man's hand rolled over against the candlestick on the plaster of the wall of the king's palace. And the king saw the part of the hand that rolled. And the king's countenance was changed, and his thoughts troubled him, so that the joints of his loins were loosed, and his knees smote one against another.
What's Belshazzar doing? What's this illustration?
Was tut Belshazzar hier? Was stellt das dar?
What is taking place here? They're having a feast,
Sie haben
right?
jetzt hier ja ein Fest.
And they're drinking wine,
Und
right?
sie trinken Wein.
And wine in the Bible is a symbol of doctrine, right?
Und Wein in der Bibel ist ein Symbol für Lehre.
Grape juice is pure doctrine. Alcoholic wine is false doctrine, right?
Traubensaft ist wahre Lehre, alkoholischer Wein ist falsche Lehre.
So what I'm saying is this is a counterfeit feast to the feast of Passover that they were to eat and drink right here.
Also was ich sagen möchte ist, dass das ein gefälschtes Fest ist, also die Fälschung von dem Passa oder dem Abendmahl, was sie hier zu sich nehmen.
So Miller's dream, God by an unseen hand sends him this book to eat, and this is the Passover, right? This is the flesh and blood of Christ that he has to eat.
In Millers Traum, da sendet Gott durch eine unsichtbare Hand jetzt ihm dieses Passa, dieses Buch, was er essen sollte, was dieses Passafleisch ist.
But Belshazzar represents this counterfeit feast where they're eating and drinking and they're drunk on this Babylonian doctrine.
Aber
right?
Belshazzar, das stellt diese Fälschung davon dar, dieses falsche Fest, wo sie dann essen und trinken, aber das ist babylonische Lehre.
Go to the next quote from 4 letters in manuscript.
Und zum nächsten Zitat, 4 LTMS.
He who had declared that all sin is a transgression of his law cannot look upon sin with allowance. Cannot look upon sin with allowance, is present as he was at the feast of Belshazzar, and an unseen hand is tracing in the books of heaven every word uttered against the rule of his government. So you had an unseen hand giving Miller the little book to eat, and here you have an unseen hand bringing them a curse upon them, for they were eating this false doctrine.
Also haben hier eine unsichtbare Hand, die Miller diese Lehre gibt, diese Bibel gibt, aber hier ist es eine unsichtbare Hand, die jetzt letztendlich den Fluch bringt.
Okay, go to 1 Corinthians 11.
Gehen wir jetzt zu 1. Korinther Kapitel 11.
Okay, Susie, read 23 to 29, please.
1. Korinther 11, Verse 23 bis 29.
For I have received of the Lord that which also I delivered unto you, that the Lord Jesus, the same night in which he was betrayed, took bread. And when he had given thanks, he broke it and said, Take it, this is my body,
He says, take, eat. He said, take it, take, eat. It's eating, right?
Take, eat, this is my body, which is broken for you. This do in remembrance of me. After the same manner also he took the cup when he had supped, saying, This cup is the New Testament of my body.
Of my blood.
This do ye as oft as ye drink it in remembrance of me. For as often as ye eat this bread and drink this cup, ye do show the Lord's death till he come. Wherefore whosoever shall eat this bread and drink this cup of the Lord unworthily shall be guilty of the body and blood of the Lord. And let a man examine himself, and so let him eat of the bread and drink of the cup. For he that eateth and drinketh unworthily eateth and drinketh damnation to himself, not discerning the Lord's body.
Right. So what happened to Belshazzar?
Also was mit Belshazzar passiert?
He brought damnation upon himself, right?
Er hat Verurteilung, Verdammnis über sich selbst gebracht.
The little time of peace here, what was the purpose of the foot washing?
Was ist hier in der kleinen Zeit des Friedens der Sinn und Zweck der Fußwaschung? To make you worthy to partake of the...
Yes, to make you humble and worthy so that you can come and partake of this Passover meal right here, right?
Dich demütig zu machen und dich würdig zu machen, hier dann das Passamahl, das Abendmahl zu dir zu nehmen.
It's also to remove any false concepts you have about Christ, right?
Und auch, dass er dort falsche Konzepte über Christus hinwegnehmen möchte.
Because Christ said right here, ye are every whit clean.
Denn
Right?
Christus sagt ja dann am Ende, ihr seid völlig rein.
Right? And in another place in the Bible, Christ says, ye are clean through the words that I have spoken unto you.
Und an einer anderen Stelle in Johannes 15 sagt er, ihr seid rein wegen der Worte, die ich zu euch geredet habe.
Right? So the comfortable words that he gives you right here are to cleanse you so that there's no false doctrine being promulgated right here.
Deswegen diese tröstenden Worte, die er hier dann zu dir spricht in der Zeit des Friedens, sind sozusagen da, um dich zu reinigen und dass da keine falsche Lehre mehr in dir zurückbleibt.
Okay, Marius, you English Bible?
Yes.
Okay, read Matthew 16, verses 15 to 19, please.
Okay, lesen wir jetzt Matthäus 16, Verse 15 bis 19.
He saith unto them, But whom say ye that I am? And Simon Peter answered and said, Thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God. And Jesus answered and said unto him, Blessed art thou, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood hath not revealed it unto thee, but my Father which is in heaven. And I say also unto thee, Thou art Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. And I will give unto thee the keys of the kingdom of heaven. And whatsoever thou shalt bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatsoever thou shalt loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven.
Okay, first thing is, what was Peter doing right there?
Also das erste ist, was hat Petrus hier gemacht?
He's confessing Christ, right?
Er bekennt Christus.
And he confessed Christ based upon a revelation that was brought by the Father, right?
Und er hat Christus bekannt, basierend auf einer Offenbarung, die ihm der Vater gegeben hat.
So we know that right here you get delivered up and your test is that whether you're going to confess Christ or whether you're going to deny Christ,
Wir
right?
wissen, hier am Ende der kleinen Zeit des Friedens wirst du ausgeliefert und der Test wird dann sein, ob du jetzt Christus bekennst oder eben nicht.
So because Peter confessed Christ, right, he had Christ in him, right?
Und weil Petrus jetzt hier Christus bekannt hat, hatte er auch Christus in sich gehabt.
He'd eaten the flesh and drunk the blood of Christ.
Er hat das Fleisch gegessen und das Blut Christi getrunken.
And therefore, Christ can say, upon this rock, I will build my church, right?
Und deswegen konnte Christus sagen, auf diesem Felsen werde ich meine Gemeinde aufbauen.
Speaking about Christ that was in him, right?
Das spricht über Christus, der in Petrus jetzt war.
And because he confessed Christ, what was now given to him?
Und weil er Christus bekannt hat, was wurde ihm jetzt gegeben?
A key,
Schlüssel.
right? What was Miller given?
Was wurde dem Miller gegeben?
A key,
Ein
right?
Schlüssel.
To unlock God's word, which is the seven thunders, right?
Gottes Wort zu entsiegeln, was die 7 Donner sind.
So when the angel of Revelation 10 comes down right there, that book is open. Miller's key opened that book right up,
Deswegen, wenn
right?
der Engel aus Offenbarung 10 hier runterkommt, ist das Buch geöffnet. Der Schlüssel, den Miller bekommen hat, schließt dieses Buch auf.
And you have to eat the seven thunders all the way through. It's this revelation from heaven,
Und du
right?
musst dann hier essen und das sind die 7 Donner, die du durchgehen musst. Das ist die Offenbarung des Himmels.
Okay, Lucia, Revelation 3, 7 and 8, please.
Jetzt gehen wir zu Offenbarung Kapitel 3 und lesen die Verse 7 bis 8.
And to the angel of the church in Philadelphia write, These things said he that is holy, he that is true, he that hath the key of David, he that openeth, and no man shutteth, and shutteth, and no man openeth. I know thy works. Behold, I have set before thee an open door, and no man can shut it. But thou hast a little strength, and hast kept my word, and hast not denied my name.
Okay, where in history was this fulfilled?
Wo in der Geschichte hat sich das erfüllt?
1844.
Right, the beginning of the investigative judgment, right?
Am Anfang des Untersuchungsgerichts.
So we know that right here, this door is opened, right?
Wir wissen, dass genau hier sich die Tür jetzt öffnet.
Matthew 7 says, enter ye in at the straight gate.
Matthäus 7 sagt ja, tretet ein durch das enge Tor.
It's this narrow way that you have to walk.
Das
Right?
ist dieser schmale Pfad, den du jetzt wandeln musst.
It's the cross.
Das ist das Kreuz.
And right here, the key of David is opening up this gate, right?
Und genau hier ist es der Schlüssel des Davids, das jetzt dieses Tor aufschließt.
This is where Jacob woke up and says, this is the gateway to heaven,
Und das ist jetzt, wo Jakob auch aufwachte und gesagt hat, das ist das Tor zum Himmel.
right? And we see how the keys, all there are all parallel.
Also können wir sehen, wie die Schlüssel alle jetzt hier parallel sind zueinander.
So basically, the opening up of God's words, this exceeding bright light, is the light that keeps you on that narrow pathway all the way to the kingdom that's at the further end of the path, right?
Deswegen dieses Öffnen des Buches ist dann dieses überaus helle Licht. Und das ist ja das Licht, was dich dann entlang des Pfades erleuchtet, was deine Füße auf dem Pfad hält bis zum Ende.
Okay, let's go back to Miller's dream.
Gehen wir zurück zu Millers Traum.
It says, I thought it was not my duty to enjoy this wonderful sight alone, although my heart was overjoyed at the brilliancy, beauty, and value of its contents. What state was he now?
In welchem Zustand befand er sich jetzt?
He was overjoyed. He's filled with joy because he has this first birth right here.
Er
Right?
war voller Freude, denn er hat jetzt hier diese Erstgeburt gehabt.
I therefore placed it on a center table in my room and gave out word that all who had a desire might come and see the most glorious and brilliant sight ever seen by man in this life. Right? Where did he place it?
Wo hat er es hingesetzt?
Center table, right?
Auf diesen zentralen Tisch.
And what's either side of the center table?
Was ist auf beiden Seiten dieses zentralen Tisches?
The two witnesses, right?
Die zwei Zeugen.
So you can understand that this is the flying roll that you have to eat, line upon line, right?
Deswegen, wir können verstehen, dass das hier die fliegende Rolle ist, die wir essen müssen, Linie auf Linie.
And we know that there's counterfeits out there, right? With two witnesses either side, with the center table, and what's on there is the same as what Belshazzar was eating, right?
Und wir wissen aber, dass es auch da Fälschungen da draußen gibt, wo auch es sozusagen so einen zentralen Tisch gibt mit zwei falschen oder mit zwei Zeugen hier, aber das ist, was auf dieser Tafel dann abgebildet ist, ist das, was Belshazzar bei seinem Fest gegessen hat.
And Christ says, eat my flesh and drink my blood, or you have no life in you, right?
Christus sagt ja, isst mein Fleisch und trinkt mein Blut, sonst habt ihr kein Leben in euch.
All right. So it says, so this was the most glorious and brilliant sight ever seen by man in this life, right? It's the most powerful message ever been given to mankind.
Das ist die kraftvollste Botschaft, die jemals an Menschen gerichtet wurde.
The people began to come in at first, few in number, but increasing to a crowd. When they first looked into the casket, they would wonder and shout for joy. But when the spectators increased, everyone would begin to trouble the jewels, taking them out of the casket and scattering them on the table. What's taking place?
Also was findet jetzt hier statt?
A scattering, right?
Eine Zerstreuung.
I began to think that the owner would require the casket and the jewels again at my hand. And if I suffered them to be scattered, I could never place them in their places in the casket again as before. And I felt I should never be able to meet the accountability, for it would be immense. I then began to plead with the people not to handle them, nor to take them out of the casket. But the more I pleaded, the more they scattered. And now they seemed to scatter them all over the room, on the floor and every piece of furniture in the room. I then saw that among the genuine jewels and coin they had scattered an innumerable quantity of spurious jewels and counterfeit coin. I was highly incensed at their base conduct and ingratitude, and reproved and reproached them for it, but the more I reproved, the more they scattered the spurious jewels and false coin among the genuine.
Okay,
So-
wir haben bis zum Ende des 4. Absatzes gelesen.
So we know that in this time period you've got these false shepherds, and you have to contend with these false messages that they're they're bringing, right?
Also wir wissen, dass wir in dieser Zeit hier dann diese falschen Hirten haben und du musst mit diesen falschen Botschaften dann kämpfen, die sie verkündigen.
We also know that this is Satan's last deception. He has all these deceptions waiting for the unwary.
Wir wissen auch, dass das hier Satans letzte Täuschung ist und er hat all diese Täuschungen vorbereitet für die Unbedachten.
Okay, let's read on.
Lass uns weiterlesen, nächster Absatz.
I then became vexed in my physical soul and began to use physical force to push them out of the room. But while I was pushing out one, 3 more would enter and bring in dirt and shavings and sand and all manner of rubbish, until they covered every one of the true jewels, diamonds and coins, which were all excluded from sight. They also tore in pieces my casket and scattered it among the rubbish. So, what are they doing here?
Was tun sie jetzt hier?
They're crucifying Christ, but they're destroying the truth, right?
Sie kreuzigen Christus und sie zerstören hier die Wahrheit.
What does it mean when he says they also tore in pieces my casket and scattered it among them?
Und was bedeutet das, wenn sie jetzt hier auch das Kästchen zerrissen haben und alles unter den Dreck verstreut haben?
No. Okay, but what's the casket?
Was ist nochmal das Kästchen?
The Bible, right?
Die Bibel.
So, the 2 witnesses in our time, right, is the spirit of prophecy in the Bible, right?
Die 2 Zeugen in unserer Zeit ist ja die Bibel und der Geist der Weissagung.
So, they're scattered in these jewels, and it says they also scatter the casket, right?
Also die, you said the Jews are scattered?
Yeah, that's what we read. They're scattering the jewels all
Also
over
sie haben die
the-
Juwelen zerstreut und dann auch noch das Kästchen.
So it says they also tore in pieces my casket.
Oder auch, sie haben das zerrissen, dieses Kästchen.
So, where do we get light from?
Woher erhalten wir Licht?
Where do we get the jewels from?
Woher erhalten wir die Juwelen?
From the spirit of prophecy and the Bible, right?
Vom Geist der Weissagung und von der Bibel.
So you can see that in one sense they're attacking the spirit of prophecy and it's getting thrown all over the place, right?
Deswegen man kann sehen, in einem Sinne greifen sie hier den Geist der Weissagung an und das wird überall hin zerstreut.
And when they do that, what does Sister White say the result is of rejecting the spirit of prophecy?
Und wenn sie den Geist der Weissagung verwerfen, was sagt Ellen White, was wird daraus resultieren?
Oh, she says it very clearly. What's the result?
The rejection of the Bible.
Yeah, they reject the Bible also, right?
Sie werden dann auch die Bibel verwerfen.
And it's going to lead them to reject the Bible. You're rejecting the Bible, you're crucifying Christ, right?
Und wenn du die Bibel verwirfst, dann kreuzigst du Christus.
Okay. So I became wholly discouraged and disheartened and sat down and wept. While I was thus weeping and mourning for my great loss and accountability, I remembered God and earnestly prayed that He would help me. Immediately the door opened and a man entered the room. When the people all left it, right? So what's marking this point?
Also was markiert jetzt hier diesen Punkt?
What's been separated now?
Jetzt kommt der Mann durch die Tür rein und was wird jetzt hier getrennt?
Way down the line. What is complete here? There's nobody left in the room.
Also keiner wird jetzt hier im Raum zurückgelassen.
Yeah, the temple's clean. The wheat and tares have been separated, right?
Tempelreinigung, Weizen und Unkraut wurde getrennt.
And he, having a dirt brush in his hand, opened the windows and began to brush the dirt and rubbish from the room. I cried to him to forbear, for there was some precious jewels scattered among the rubbish. He told me, "Fear not, for he would take care of them." Then, while he brushed the dirt and rubbish, false jewels and counterfeit coin all rose and went out of the window like a cloud, and the wind carried them away. In the bustle, I closed my eyes for a moment, and when I opened them, the rubbish was all gone. The precious jewels, the diamonds, the gold, the silver coins, lay scattered in profusion all over the room. He then placed on a table the casket, much larger and more beautiful than the former, and gathered up the jewels, the diamonds, the coins by the handful, and cast them into the casket, till not one was left, although some of the diamonds were not bigger than the point of a pin. He then called upon me to come and see. I looked into the casket, but my eyes were dazzled with the sight. They shone with 10 times their former glory. So when the last people are swept out the room, what does the Lord come and do now that the temple's clean?
Also wenn jetzt die letzten Leute aus dem Raum hinausgestoßen worden sind, was macht der Herr jetzt, wenn er den Raum reinigt oder fegt?
Brings the latter rain, right?
Er bringt den Spätregen.
This is what's happening now, that this Bible is, this truth is 10 times brighter than what it was before. Right?
Jetzt die Wahrheiten der Bibel sind jetzt 10-mal heller als zuvor.
When Daniel and his colleagues in Daniel chapter 1, when they had this test, right, about their appetite, what they should eat.
Als Daniel und seine Freunde diesen Test hatten über ihren Appetit, was sie essen sollten,
When they stood before the king at the end, what did the king say about them?
als sie dann letztendlich vor dem König standen, was hat der König über sie gesagt?
They were 10 times better than all the rest, right?
Sie waren 10-mal besser als alle anderen.
Okay. So, 10 times their glory. I thought that they had been soured in the sand by the feet of those wicked persons who had scattered and trod them in the dust. They were arranged in beautiful order in the casket, every one in its place, without any visible pains of the man who cast them in. I shouted with what? Joy! And that shout awoke me. Right? Very joy, right? But it's still joy.
No, you said with joy. I said with very joy.
Yes.
Joy,
So,
much joy.
There's joy at the beginning and there's joy at the end, right?
Also es gibt Freude am Anfang und Freude am Ende.
But the point I want to make here, right, is he wakes. He awakes and he's got joy.
Er
Right?
wacht hier auf und hat Freude.
Okay, what is this waymark marking?
Und was markiert diese Wegmarke hier?
What does it say? It says rejoice, right? Why?
Steht yes.
Yes. It's a parallel to this, right? What's at the beginning is at the end.
When he received the 10 times the light. That's when he wakes.
And he wakes up and it's parallel and they are waking up right
Also er
here,
wacht hier
right?
auf und das steht parallel dann zu diesem Aufwachen hier.
Okay, so the midnight cry is parallel to what?
Mitternachtsruf ist parallel womit?
What is Sister White parallel to? Triumphal entry,
Dem
right?
triumphalen Einzug.
We know right here that it says rejoice because thy king cometh to be meek and lowly and riding upon an ass, the colt, the foal of an ass, right?
Und es ist ja, sagt er, freue dich, denn dein König kommt reitend auf einem Esel.
Okay.
Und hat
Next.
Errettung mit sich.
Next quote from Spalding again, 4.3.
Nächstes Zitat von SPM 4.3.
Says, you are getting the coming of the Lord too far off. I saw the latter rain was coming as suddenly as the midnight cry, and with 10 times the power. Amen? 10 times.
Also der Spätregen kommt mit 10-facher Kraft des Mitternachtsruфs.
Okay, so in Revelation chapter 22,
In Offenbarung 22, Vers 14,
it says, blessed are they that do his commandments, that they may have right to the tree of life and may enter into the gates of the city. Right, so we know the gates are here, right? This is where you enter into the gates.
das ist jetzt hier, wo du letztendlich dann durch die Tore eintrittst.
Right? When you enter into the gates of the city, what do you do at the tree of life?
Wenn du jetzt durch die Tore der Stadt eintrittst, was machst du dann dort beim Baum des Lebens?
You eat, right?
Du wirst essen.
And it's right here.
Und das ist ja dann in der Darstellung genau dann hier.
So right here at the gates, when you wake up and you shout for joy, you're to eat.
Genau hier, wo du dann durch die Tore gehst und vor Freude jubelst, sollst du dann auch essen.
Right?
Richtig?
And go to Revelation 22 verse 1.
Gehen wir jetzt zur Offenbarung 22, Vers 1 bis 5.
Daniela, read verses 1 to 5, please.
Vers 1 bis 5.
And he showed me a pure river of water of life, clear as crystal, proceeding out of the throne of God and of the Lamb. In the midst of the street of it, and on either side of the river, was there the tree of life, which bare 12 manner of fruits, and yielded her fruit every month. And the leaves of the tree were for the healing of the nations.
Okay, it's just what is that an illustration of?
Wir haben jetzt in Vers 2 geendet. Was stellt das hier dar?
Come on, guys, we've been through this so many times. Why are we sitting here all looking down, don't want to answer, right?
Two witnesses.
It's the two witnesses,
Das sind die
right?
zwei Zeugen.
What's in the middle?
Was ist denn in der Mitte?
The throne, right?
Der Thron.
What's proceeding out of the throne?
Und was kommt aus dem Thron heraus?
The water, right?
Das Wasser.
When Christ said it is done on the cross, right?
Als Christus gesagt hat, es ist vollbracht hier am Kreuz,
What came piling out of his belly?
was kam aus seinem Bauch hervor?
Yeah, the water and the blood, right?
Das Wasser und das Blut.
Okay. Christ says, out of your belly shall flow rivers of living water.
Christus sagt ja, aus deinem Bauch sollen Ströme lebendigen Wassers fließen.
Right? So you have the throne marked here at the beginning, you have the throne marked here at the end, but now it's this pure river because the waters have been cleansed, right?
Den Thron am Anfang und den Thron am Ende markiert, aber jetzt kommen die reinen Ströme des Wassers raus, denn die Quelle ist gereinigt worden.
Okay, read verses 3 to 5.
Lass uns jetzt die Verse 3 bis 5 lesen.
And there shall be no more curse, but the throne of God and of the Lamb shall be in it, and his servants shall serve him. And they shall see his face, and his name shall be in their foreheads. And there shall be no night there, and they need no candle, neither light of the sun. For the Lord God giveth them light, and they shall reign forever and ever.
Right? It's marking this point where when you go through your test and you get sealed in your forehead, when you face to face with Christ, it's eternally finished, right?
Okay, den Punkt, wenn du durch deinen Test gegangen bist und jetzt das Siegel Gottes auf deinen Stirn hast, dann ist das für immer besiegelt.
Okay, last
Du kommst mit Christus von Angesicht zu Angesicht.
Revelation 2, verse 17.
Letzter Vers, Offenbarung 2, Vers 17.
He that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the churches. To him that overcometh will I give to eat of the hidden manna, and will give him a white stone, and the stone a new name written, which no man knoweth, saving he that
Receiveth it, right? So at the beginning, you get given something to eat, and at the end, you get given something to eat. There's two lights that come to you, right?
Also am Anfang bekommst du etwas zu essen und am Ende bekommst du etwas zu essen. Es sind diese zwei Lichter, die du erhältst.
You see, it's a perfect parallel to the midnight cry, right?
Sie sehen, es ist eine perfekte Parallele zum Mitternachtsruf.
He says right here, he's going to give you to eat of that hidden manna.
Und er sagt, er gibt dir dann hier zur 9. Stunde von diesem verborgenen Manna zu essen.
So, I know it's a lot of information, but it's all connects together very nicely from all the studies that we've been doing the last week or two.
Und ich weiß, das ist jetzt viel Information, aber es verbindet sich sehr schön mit all den Studien, die wir jetzt die letzten 2 Wochen so gemacht haben.
Right? So you can clearly see the illustration of what this exceeding bright light is, how it's illustrated.
Deswegen kann man klar jetzt sehen, wie das überaus helle Licht dargestellt wird.
So, we're just before this point, right?
Und wir sind ganz kurz hier vor dieser kleinen Zeit des Friedens.
We know that when they go into those cities, right, and start preaching that false message, you are to give the cry, right?
Also give the cry.
Yes. It's the midnight cry begins to be given, right?
Also wir müssen dann den Ruf geben, wenn sie in die Städte gehen.
This is the whole point. This is the fifth day of the 4th month, 21st July.
5. Tag des 4. Monats.
Snow began to give the cry, right?
Snow hat dort den Ruf angefangen zu geben.
Right? And it's this light right here, right? It's going to begin to cleanse us and purify us and prepare us for when the exceeding bright light comes in and the message is given with power.
Es ist das Licht, was dann kommt, was dich reinigt und dich vorbereitet, dieses überaus helle Licht zu geben, zu erhalten, um dann die Botschaft mit Kraft zu geben.
That's why it's one waymark, because it's all the midnight cry.
Und deswegen ist das eine Wegmarke, denn es ist alles der Mitternachtsruf.
Amen.
Amen.
We see that sign. We got to, without delay, right? So we must be making preparation, right?
Wenn wir dieses Zeichen sehen, dann dürfen wir nicht zögern und wir müssen jetzt die Vorbereitung dafür treffen.
Amen.
Amen. Lass uns mit Gebet abschließen.
Dear Heavenly Father,
Lieber himmlischer Vater,
we thank you for this new day.
wir danken dir für diesen neuen Tag.
We thank you for the light that you're revealing to us.
Wir danken für das Licht, was du uns offenbarst.
We ask and pray that you would help us to make preparation,
Wir bitten und beten, dass du uns hilfst, dass wir die Vorbereitungen treffen,
so that we would recognize our sign
sodass wir unser Zeichen erkennen
and that we would act upon it accordingly.
und dass wir dahingehend dann auch handeln.
Please help us as we go through the day to dwell upon these themes,
Bitte hilf uns, dass während wir durch den Tag gehen, auch über diese Dinge nachzudenken,
so that we would be rooted and grounded in the truth,
sodass wir verwurzelt sind und gegründet sind in der Wahrheit,
that when the crisis comes we would not be moved.
sodass, wenn die Krise kommt, wir nicht bewegt werden können.
Please finish the work in us that you've begun unto salvation,
Bitte vollende das Werk, was du angefangen hast, zu unserer Erlösung.
and please help us to be willing to do your will,
Und bitte hilf uns, dass wir willig sind, deinen Willen zu tun,
to your name's sake and your glory.
zu deines Namens Herrlichkeit und um deines Namens Willen.
In Jesus' name,
In Jesu Namen.
amen.
Amen.